Jai Hind, welcome to another video. In this video, we are going to study from here. Step 2. Pay attention to your warning signs. Okay. Jai Hind, of course, a trigger is just a trigger. It's our response to it that makes all the differences. A warning sign can be thought of as any indication that you have trouble dealing with some emotional distress. Again, this can be thoughts, emotion, or urge to behave in a particular way. They indicate that distress is underway and that you are dealing with strong, unpleasant emotions. What could what could happen at this point is that you resort to escape methods to try to avoid the distress. We have already discussed the need to quell uncertainty by overthinking or ruminating in a bid to gain more control. But avoidance and escape can take many different forms. These kind of behaviors can be varied as a trigger that they are designed to avoid. In addition to overthinking, they can include seeking assurance, distressing yourself, resorting to substance, and overeating, oversleeping, or simply avoiding the stressful situation completely. In the example of the woman above, the mounting emotional stress she experienced leads to a very clear warning signs snapping at the people in the kitchen with her, whereas the trigger might have been small balls. Warning signs are more like blaring fire alarms. Warning signs are not just actions, however, they can be thoughts. For example, I can't do this, I am a failure, or feelings, for example, irritation, panic, depression, shame, or jealousy, or even physical body sensation, for example, fatigue, shaking, a knot in the stomach, tension, or a tearfulness. It can be difficult to clearly see distress as unfold in the moment. Precisely because distress is also unpleasant and we are often seeking ways to avoid it at all cost. That's why the regular practice of distress tolerance will be sharpen your ability to zoom in your unique triggers and exactly how they affect you. Forgo your escape mechanism and do the opposite. Step 3 is where your distress tolerance plan really comes to life. Being triggered and experiencing overwhelming emotional, mental and physical sensation can force us down to the path of automatic habits designed to make us feel better. However, escape behaviors seldom give us to the opportunity to develop resilience and grow as people. And frequently, the escape behaviors themselves are harmful to us. It's because we are still operating under the core belief this is unbearable, I can't cope. The ABC model, worry, postponement, or emotional dashboarding, are all ways to gain awareness of what's going on and using them wingle conditions a little so there is less anxiety. But if we want to develop resilience, we can also choose to stay with sensation instead. For the women in our example, snapping at family members is only likely to put them on edge, and it turned to chaos and stress in the kitchen. Unintentionally making matters worse, others' escape behaviors can be even more damaging. For example, being eating alcohol abuse, be, be, being eating alcohol abuse, or avoiding doing tasks at work that will only become worse with procrastination. Though escape behaviors feel irresistible in the moment, and they may sincerely feel like our only solution at times, they are not ultimately adaptive and come from a place of avoidance, weakness, weaknesses, denial, and escape rather than confidence and the strength to deal with what life throws our way. How do you know what your escape behaviors are? This part of the process might be the easiest to identify since there will be those actions you feel strongly compelled to do when in the thick of an overwhelming emotional reaction. Many people get intense cravings for sweet things after an upsetting argument, or feel compelled to get up and leave the room if the situation feels utterly hopeless or overpowering. Look closely to those behaviors you feel unable to resist when emotional overwhelmed, and you will likely learn something about your escape patterns. The trick is then deliberately and consciously commit to doing the opposite of the behavior, which invariably means to stay calm, not escape, and remain the situation and emotion. In a way, you are facilitating your own exposure therapy. Trigger and warning signs are invitations to become aware of the moment and make the admittedly difficult choice to take a different path. Luckily, this gets easier the more you practice it. You might, for example, choose the quietly tell yourself, I will stay with my feelings right now instead of trying to avoid them. You can silently say this sentence to yourself again and again in your mind. Say it out loud, write in out in a journal, or even share your sentiment with someone close. The point is to bring your actions out into the open and convert an old automatic habit into conscious action that you have a choice in. Knowing what your triggers and warning signs are ahead of time can help immensely with this. If you know that you are prone to thinking thoughts like this is unbearable, or resorting to self-harm to distract yourself, you may choose of instead recite a little mantra to yourself. I can bear this. I am choosing to stay with my feelings and not escape them. Accept your distress and discomfort. Once you have identified your triggers and warning signs, and once you have made the commitment to stay present with whatever emotional responses emerge in you, the only thing left to do is to follow through with it. Of course, this can seem easier and said than done. This part of process can feel uh, counter counterintuitive, and by its very nature very nature can be emotionally overwhelming, but again, frequent practice along with the willingness to stay what would emerge with eventually help you to develop tolerance for unpleasant emotions. First, in order to accept an emotion, you need to be able to correctly recognize that it is occurring. Take some time to be still with the sensation, whatever it is. Try not to rush in the deny or avoid it. And remember that there no need to embrace it, there to pretend it isn't there. Simply give yourself the emotion escape to expand and watch what can you feel in your body. What sort of thoughts are in your mind? How do those thoughts make you feel? Why is why is this happening to you? This exercise can be done during a more formal meditation, or you can simply choose the pause and take a moment out of your daily life to together yourself and become aware of your emotions. Next, try to gain some distance from the emotions by using imagery. It's so easy to get swelled up by an emotion, feeling as thought it is us, and that we are completely identified with it. But emotions are temporary and passing. Can you find a way to let the emotion be emotion be what it is without getting carried away with it? For example, our example, women may imagine that all the chatter, all the chatter and chaos and negative emotions of the family holidays is like a dark cloud of tangled words that she can warp up in a beautiful pink balloon, where once inside it goes tangled words that she can warp in a beautiful pink balloon, where once inside it goes silent and peaceful. She can she can then stand outside of these emotions and hold them on a string. Apart from herself, another person might imagine that their sadness and overwhelming depressions is really a small, tired person who just want to sit at a table of a little while. But by sitting across from this person and allowing to speak without getting upset about its existence, we can start to gain some distance and a detachment. This is beginning of emotion mastery. As you engage with your emotions, whatever they are, in the whatever image you can give them, pay close attention to your breath, being focused on the simple inhale and exhale of your breath can ground you in the moment and remind you to stay anchored in the present. Wait out, wait out your emotional spike and see what is on the other side. Part of the practice of learning to tolerate emotional distress is understanding that is and understanding that it is a practice, that is not something you master all at once and never have to took it again. If you are aware and accepting of your fact that you will experience emotional comebacks, you can remain calm when they occur and appreciate them for what they are, an opportunity to try again, to turn away from avoidance and escape behaviors, and reform your commitment to yourself. Emotional strength and the ability to calmly withstand even the most unpleasant emotions is like music, like a mu- muscle. I don't know the what is the written here. You can read muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. So be grateful for every opportunity you have to exercise it. If you feel a strong emotions arising again, you watch yourself closely. Are you frustrated with yourself for not doing it right? Are you impatient with the process, feeling like you should have succeeded with it sooner? Great. Track these feelings themselves and feed them back into your practice. Remind yourself your commitment to doing the opposite of your escape behaviors. Remind yourself that you can, you can and will stay with feelings, and that all feelings, no matter how unpleasant, will pass. Sit with them and observe that past an initial period, that high stress and anxiety. They aren't overwhelming experiences, merely uncomfortable. Step 5. Making friend with distress. We all we are all individuals, and nobody is going to experience distress in quite the same way. The only way to truly understand your own emotional patterns and behaviors is to get in there directly and become aware of them. These 5 steps can thought of as closed sequence that improves and refines itself every time you go through a cycle. Every time you are able to successfully soothe yourself without avoidance escape behaviors. Take a note and remember how you did it. Next time you are in a similar position, you can pull these activities, thoughts, or ideas out of your emotional inventory and use them. In essence, you can building greater awareness of yourself and slowly removing the behavior from the real realm and passive, reactionary and unconscious into the realm of deliberate conscious action that really serve you. This final step is about uh, talking stock talking stock of what works. This can be actively making a list of behaviors that you want to practice, or simply taking a moment to quietly acknowledge process when it happens. Make a note of words of encouragement, mantras, or images that will help you that will that that help you to get into a state of mind you are trying to achieve. Write them down somewhere you can easily access, or maybe carrying the small object that encourages you to stay mindful. In fact, once you begin to feel more in control, you can start to actively seeking out exposure to distress in order to gain practice and strengthen your resilience. Though this may seem scary, in a way it gives you more control to engineer situations that from our outest have you feeling prepared and confident. If you'd like to do this, if you would like to do this, start with your triggers and think of a situation that may make you feel anxious. Of course, it may backfire or throw you in the deep end of distress. Instead, think of an ultimate goal that you'd like to achieve. and then set up a new gradual step and a smaller goals you can achieve to reach that. This explosive ladder is a series of manageable steps that increase and increments. Each step might involve spending more and more time in the distressing situation, or it may entail increasing the intensity of a sensation or interaction with the triggering person. As an example, a man might have trouble with watching certain highly charged news show or movies as a trigger and resort to overeating as an escape behavior. He commits to telling himself that he can, in fact, tolerate the feelings of anxiety and hopelessness this brings up. He sets himself a goal to be able to watch a full news program without overeating to soothe himself. He starts with smaller steps. First, he watches 5 minutes, then he watches two 5 minute segment with a break. Then he watches 10 uninterrupted minutes and so on. His goal is not to enjoy the news, just strengthen his ability to tolerate uncomfortable feelings without suc- succumbing to escape. हाँ बोल. Whether you choose to practice an emotional exposure ladder or simply want to do your action plan when distress naturally rear its head, if you can stay with the emotion in the present, breathe, re- reorient your behavior, and reward any success, you essentially train yourself toward greater emotional control and stability. A warning here. This is a technique that's a little more advanced than those in the previous chapters. So it's a good idea to start with those and work your way off. What's important is that you realize you are always the one in control. You want to gently challenge yourself to go out of your comfort zone and push the belief that you can bear uncertainty, but you don't want to completely overwhelm or terrify yourself either. Take baby steps take baby steps. Apprise, adjust and try again. Discomfort, uncertainty, and distress are not your enemies. They are your teachers. If you are willing to see them that way. Detachment and stoicism. When we speak of our merits of emotional toughness, the term might be misinterpreted or coldness and distance, or worse, hardness and aggression. There are certainly cases in which efforts and maintained toughness have resulted in actions and statements that are aloof or abusive. But the kind of resilience we are concerned with isn't something we direct toward others. It's about how we manage ourselves, how we rise to challenge or adversity challenges or adversity, and how we persist. It doesn't harm your interpersonal relationships. In fact, it's something that actually improves how we connect and care for ourselves and others. In this chapter, we will discuss two similar ways to develop and refine emotional resilience. Both have roots that go back thousands of years. So the fact that we are still talking about them speak to their lasting influence. One was popularized by the famed philosophers Emperor Marcus Aurelius of ancient Rome, while the other was developed by the one and only Buddha. Both deal with how we perceive the emotional substance of our realities and how regulating our feelings and temper is essential to experiencing a happy life. Additionally, they both work from the perspective of the vast universe and our tiny insignificant place in that universe. Attachment is the origin and the root of suffering, hence it is cause of suffering. The Dalai Lama 1988. The tenets of detachment are in the first known volumes of Buddhist thought, the Pali Canon. It's expressed as a nekama, which roughly translates into renunciation. We often refer to this trait as detachment, but it perhaps more accurately expressed as non-attachment. Non Non-attachment isn't the same as deprivation. Consider food, for example. We have to eat to preserve ourselves, and there's nothing wrong with enjoy it. What non-attachment does address is desire and craving. It's logical to assume that what we sees depends on certain life conditions. Our odds of having a happier existence improve. We may still need but don't feel emotionally empty without it. Dependence on external things. We pin our internal happiness to external people, objects, and circumstances because of these feelings they bring us. We are conditioned to be to be that way. Getting material goods and emotional satisfaction feeds an internal sense of completion. Once we obtain those things or satisfy those desires, we tend to cling them to for dear life. We fear losing them to stress out over that fear. We feel shattered if we lose something or grave when a situation changes. Breaking up, getting laid off, and losing a house or car, the major traumatic events. Our attachment to these feelings defines us. We feel euphoria, our positive results, and devastations, our negative ones. Strangely, we depend on both of those feelings, happy and sad, for our own comfort, valuing our regrets and disappointments can be source of safety. The act of suffering can as closely and familiar as the easy chair. In trying to hold an emotional habits, we restrict our ability to experience joy in the present. When we stop trying to exercise control over the world around us, we actually set ourselves free. We give the world to freedom to fulfill us and remove its power to destroy us. Letting go is letting happiness is. This isn't a quick fix or one time decision, it's a commitment that you must deliberately renovate day to day, moment to moment. That in itself is a opposite of instant gratification, which is always temporary. It's something that must be cultivated, not just granted. It's a change to way you experience and interact with the things and feelings you want. The problems with attachment. Claiming that our happiness or depression is caused by attachment may still seem contradictory. Isn't getting what we want a good thing? Doesn't it drive us to work harder to achieve a physical level of comfort? Doesn't it reinforce our values? Attachment plays in role in the conflicts over daily issue and occasional events. For example, argument with other arise from our strict attachment to our opinions. When something doesn't go our way, we get angry because of our attachment to the results we want. When we lose something we cherish, we feel sad because we are no longer attached to those objects. Our agony over losing a loved ones comes from their attachment to our lives. This isn't a criticism. This isn't a criticism of these emotions we feel toward people or things. Love, enjoyment, intelligence, and comfort are not disorders or adverse conditions. Rather, we are discussing the reliance itself. The fact that our peace of mind depends on fulfilling those needs and our fixation on doing so. Attachment to people. We may bristle at the suggestion that our attachment to people is an issue, but it isn't a problematic. In fact, it could be more dangerous because humans are more unpredictable and susceptible to change. We are driven by nature, and nature changes all the time. Attachment to others is the bred condition, not something that occurs overnight. We develop feelings by spending time with someone. With partners, we gain affection. With crockers, we build cooperation. With friends and family, we gain enjoyment and sentiment. But in all those situations, we are not really attaching to the people. We are attaching to the Experiences. Our connection is with the emotion we feel when we are with them, good or bad. Our mind identifies pleasant sensations, so we crave them more often. But as though attachments grows and deepen, we start to nurture discomfort and fear losing those pleasures. We believe our happiness resets with the presence, and that leads us to think we need an outside factor to be counted. By doing so, we forfeit we forfeit our own power to make ourselves happy. Connection versus entang- entanglement. Attachment puts us in a state of need. Everything we do and think is focused on the thing we are attached to. Our perspective blurs at our connection with others turns into entanglements. When we experience connection, we share bonds and commonalities, commonalities, but maintain our individuality. Our over attachment to the feelings we experiences can distort that connection into codependency. We start thinking in terms of demands, or needs. That's when we stop feeling connected and being feeling entanglement. This is when we perceive external forces as things we need to be happy, but nothing outside of us can truly bring happiness or security. The only ones in control of our own happiness are ourselves, our dependence, and others might obscure that fact, but it doesn't change it. As our attachment grow, our as- acceptance, acceptations become more fixed in our minds. Our fear of losing what we desire become more acute. We become concerned that the person or thing we are attached to may fall short of our needs. If it is not lost altogether, the experiences can be painful. When the worry manifests, our mind puts us a survival mode. We become focused, obsessed, and maybe even addicted to the object of our attachment. We become clingy, controlling, domineering, and insecure. Such emotions lead to near dysfunction and disrupt our balance, and we act irrationally. Pain and suffering is a choice. Look at this line. Pain and suffering is a choice. We choose to experience misery and hurt, believe it or not. That's good news. We can avoid entanglement by living with non-attachment. That doesn't mean we withdraw or isolate ourselves from others and never connect with anyone again. It doesn't mean we sacrifice our dreams or aspirations. It doesn't mean we devalue love, support, associations, or compassion. What it does mean is that we release our need for relationship or thing that we have become attached to. We accept things as they are and recognize that the situation in our existence will constantly evolve and change. Permanence is uh, illusory. Everything is temporary. Accepting this viewpoint isn't automatic or easy. It requires letting go, letting go of details we feel strongly about but cannot control. It's tough. It's tough because our egos are constantly fed by the driven to keep that control. Releasing that need and putting our trust in the universe is a tough task. But the reality is that we really have no choice in what happens in our lives. We can either fight it or embrace it. When we detach, we embrace anything that comes, and we are make the choice to find happiness in any situation. Breaking attachment. Detachment can be fighting, frightening. Detachment can be frightening, but it's much easier than it sounds. We don't just disengage. We don't just disengage with people or things. We majorly change how we relate to them. Nobody feels glad about being dependent. Even if we claim to be happy, circumstances or events will rise that will expose that happiness as a fraud. Dependence only feels good and everything's going in our favor. When conditions change or when people leave, that dependence becomes a source of anxiety. Detachment relieves us for expectations. Our happiness isn't based on need, it becomes authentic. We don't rely on things outside us to make us happy because we are complete as we are. We can achieve happiness on our own. Happiness from outside factors becomes an addition to our positive state of mind, not the only source of for it. The following step can help you to develop a healthy detachment that will inform and reinforce your life and relationships. Awareness looks at attachment you have in your life, your partner, your surroundings, your social circles, your work. Where have you given of power? Do you expect something from those relationships or things? Is any part of your connection controlled by your fear, anxiety, or insecurity? Find out which situation you might need to detach from. Examination now that you have identified these attachments, inspect them more closely. What fuels your attachment? Do fear or insecurity play a part? How valid your fears? If you since they are irrational, then what you are really worried about. Take a lot of time with this step. Acceptance, accept each moment exactly for what it is. Don't compare or try to turn it into yesterday that's gone. Don't try to extend the moment into something that will last forever because it won't. Absorb the moment fully and enjoy it because it will pass. Now is enough. Tomorrow will never be the same as today. Relationship will end. Others will begin. Your surrounding will change. You will be able to deal with those challenges when they come. But right now in the present moment, appreciate the enjoy what you have no matter what the future holds. What you have now will always be enough. Practice letting things be. Make peace with the moment. Don't worry if something wrong with you or your life. Operate from the standpoint of your acceptance. This doesn't mean you can't work toward creating a better tomorrow or improving yourself. It just means accepting where you are now as the foundation of your achievements. Release the needs to know. Life will always be uncertain. Obsessing about tomorrow is self-defeating. There will always be another tomorrow after it. You will make projections and predictions about the future, and you will might be right, but you cannot affect them until they happen. The best way to be prepared is to be work on what's before you right now. If conventional Buddhist thoughts on detaching can be briefly summed up. It's about recognizing that everything good and bad in this world fades as quickly as it comes. We have no choice or control in the either way. Thus, we cannot accept what we want to happen, no matter how reasonable it is. The moment we form an acceptation, we form an attachment to an outcome, and that makes you vulnerable or suffering and emotionality. You can struggle and still receive a negative outcome, or you can embrace it as it comes. The value of naturality. Buddhist detachment can be difficult to warp your mind around, but the essential idea is very similar to the Stoicism. Stoicism is a way that viewing life is seeing your place in the world, and it was originally put into words by Athenian philosopher Zeno around the 3rd century BC. A Stoic philosophy argues that unchecked emotions are some of the biggest enemies of your happiness and fulfillment. Rationally, perspective, and practically are what drive Stoicism. According to Stoicism, you have the utmost free free will and any circumstances regardless of your what your emotions might tell you. There is your emotional reality and objective reality, and you can choose which you want to avoid by. You have more control of what's going in your life than you realize. Actually, you can choose the emotion you feel. There are many ways to characterize Stoicism, but I find it best to bark it into two primary tenets. The first important tenet of Stoicism that will seek to promote emotional resilience in that everything that happens in the world is natural. Every event and consequences before therefore thereof every event has a different effect on everyone, but the events themselves are natural, without intent, and play no favorites. Favorites. There is no bad or good. There is no bad or good. It is all subjective. It is created with you, along with your emotions and judgments. This means that isn't your reaction or perceptions that cause your unhappiness. If you perceive events to be negative, they will be negative. If you perceive them to be positive, you will find the positive in them. If you are sitting in a cafe and a car slams into your parked car in the street outside, you have a choice about how you will respond. It's a natural event, and you can attach any set of emotions to be you want. You can react that why most people do and freak out of play the victim, or you can calmly take out of your phone and solve the problem by searching new cars with upgraded sound system. The operative facts are same, yet to very different outcomes. Violence which reaction do not think will lead to more orderly resolution of what just happened. No matter how you react, that the facts will remain the same. Your car is going to need repairs or will need to be replaced. Your emotional stability hangs upon your reaction and perceptions of natural events. And every event is natural. It's your response and opinion about the event that either cause you tremendous emotional distress or leads you to a quick resolution or minimal stress. Taking ownership of your role in your level of happiness and stability is why the same event can affect people drastically different ways. What makes things negative, unpleasant, and stressful in our judgment of those otherwise natural events? We don't have control over most of the situations we are put into despite our best efforts. You cannot control other people on other way on the weather. If you feel that you do, you are fighting a losing battle because you are setting yourself to continual disappointment. But we do have control over the 100% of our reactions and responses of those situations. This is process that can make or break your mood or perception of life. People react in predictable ways when things they perceive to be negative happen. They either blame someone else or they beat themselves up emotionally because of that lack of control over events. Many are frustrated by their feelings, helplessness. Focus instant on how you respond to what's taking place right now in your life. Outside forces are not out to make you miserable. Even if even if they are, you are making the choice to feel that emotion. Look within. The world the world hands us a blank slate every morning. You are the sole writer and editor of what is written on the salad. Some people will inevitably see the silver lining of the storm cloud, while others are overwhelmed by the smallest hint of darkness. Which will you be? If you are pained by any external thing, it is not these things that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it, and it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. Aurelius Marcus Aurelius. The second tenet of Stoicism is always temper your expectations and expect difficulty and challenges. This isn't necessarily about being pessimistic. It's more about being realistic and stilling yourself for the hardships you will encounter. It's amazing what adjust expectations can do for your outlook. How would you feel if you won the lottery and expected to win vers- versus if you won the lottery and forgot you had even bought a ticket? Many of us are working with the former expectations that life will or should deliver us something. It's a dangerous place to be. When you can move away from this thinking and ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? You will be prepared and unsurprised. Imagine yourself suffering, think about your death, and even practice a degree of abstinence or deprivations in your life. How will you feel afterward? As you may have surmised, Stoicism is a particularly helpful tool in battling the obstacle we face in our lives. A set Going a step further, you can, as the Stoics says, turn the obstacle upside down. Train yourself to avoid judging events as purely good or bad. In fact, realize you can even turn all obstacle upside down. Looking us through another perspective or suit your purpose. This means that analyze anything that seems to present an obstacle should actually be seen as an opportunity to something positive and growth oriented. Remember, it is your interpretation or entirely natural events. So look at what happens objectively and dispassionately. It might be raining, and then choose your Best reaction. The world won't tend, and the activities you had planned or outdoors. Can you done another day? How might the rain force you get creative or explore other untapped potential what they are alternate perspectives you can adopt rather than one of the sadness and frustra- frus- frustrations. This alternate perspective always exists, and you and you should train your ability to see them. Your truth is always have the ability to respond in a way that to amounts to rolling with the punches. How might this obstacle become an opportunity, if only an opportunity to practice your sense of resilience and patience? The most practical effect is enabling the sufferer to speak, so to speak, to become immune to negative emotion spiral. Instead, they force themselves to engage in alternative thought patterns to gain perspective and move forward rationally. For example, imagine you are a nurse and you have a patient who is very cranky. The reason you approached this person is because you wanted to help them, but this person is being surely doesn't want to cooperate or even tries to bully you. In short, this person is being mean or nasty. According to the Stoic, instant of feeling hassled or feeling that this person is making your life difficult, try to think of this person is actually helping you out. How can that be? Well, this person's behavior is giving you to a tremendous opportunity to exercise new virtues that you should have more of in your life, like being understanding, patience, and compassionate. Another example drawn from the Stoic things is the death of loved one. If you have somebody, it is easy to fall into despair when they pass away, but you could use these laws as an opportunity to sort fortitude. Instead of feeling pain and loss, you can look at this calmly negative situation as the opportunity to practice inner strength, calm control, equanimity, and level headedness. Our life is full of teachable moments, like perhaps or Aesop's fables, regardless and negative particular event may seem. Maybe my recording may be instantly completed, so don't worry about it. It's automatic. It isn't automatic, so it will automatically complete. Okay, you can always try to reinterrupt. It is a positive opportunity to look at other side of the situation. The more you turn the obstacle upside down, the more you'll realize that there are really is no such thing as good and bad at all. Depends on how you choose perceives things. Something for centuries stoicism has been but virtual antidote for emotional disruptions that can blow any of us. It tells you to unequivocally have the power to create your own reality. Meanwhile, Buddhist principle also make it clear that your surroundings don't need to change for change to occur. Your mental state is fairer than you think. Sometimes a mental switch is all it takes. Resilience to inspiring forth. Tomorrow, I think tomorrow we will start from here. Na? Be grateful and save our life. Thank you to all. If you are listening or if you are watching this video, that is grateful for me. But I will tell you, please Try to read books. When you read books, the grittiness, the silence comes to your body, the silence come to your mind. I will request you read something, whatever you like.